Everyone, Liam Hartree here with another episode of Presenting Champions. Today joined by a very special guest. We've been working on this interview for a little while. Today's guest, Isaac Gibbs, a veteran of 318 fights so far and counting all the time. In fact, I think he's got another one coming up tomorrow if I'm not mistaken. Won multiple titles in different sports, and I think it's mostly boxing, but I know you've had bare knuckle fights, you've had other things, so we'll get into all that in a minute. But before we get into all of that, champ, I just want to say thank you very much for making the time, and thank you very much for coming on my show. It's a pleasure to have you.
No problem, brother Liam. Pleasure to have me on, brother.
No worries at all. So, like I was saying, 318 fights and growing all the time. By the time people watch this, it'll probably be more again. But you have one hell of a collection of belts and trophies and all sorts there behind you, as our viewers can see.
Yeah,
so I'm actually because like I was saying to you, I usually, give a little intro of, the person's won this and they've won that. But you've just got too many. I mean, there's a photo I've seen on your Facebook where you've got a ton of belts all around you. I think there's even more there. So can you walk us through some of your belts and some of your trophies, please?
I can do, bro. Yeah. I don't know if you can see them from the camera, look, but the thing is with this white collar, brother, there's that many different organisations, you know what I mean? We're going back now to... I've won this title twice, the BBU English title. I won it back at middleweight, and then 2019 I won it back again at cruiserweight. So that means a lot to me. Even as the first title I've won in the white collar, that was, you know what I mean? A few weeks ago, I got my hands on the Prince Relations area title.
Very
that was
nice.
at heavyweight. I've had titles now from middleweight all the way up to heavyweight. So I think I'm doing pretty well, you know what I mean? Is a title here. One my third attempt at that. Thomas Iqbal, I was friends with Thomas Iqbal. Unfortunately, he passed away at a very young age. I'm a chunk in here. You know what I mean? And then after this, all the titles is a good friend of mine, Matt Goff, I went pro with the FFL. He named his title after my dad. That's one of my good titles. Another good pro to Pete Jackson. Named the title after my dad again, Henry Gibbs title. And the rest, mate, are just various, titles. I got my hands on, finally got my hands on the Welsh title on Ken's show. Do you know what I mean? They're all over the place, man. They're chucked everywhere, literally. I've got my first kickboxing title I won down here. Wow. I've got a title over here. Got a back, I don't know if it's been around to show you these. But the trophies here. Do you mean they're everywhere, bro? I've got that much stuff in here.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, that is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. And, there's some amazing achievements there. So I'm really glad that, we get to give those a mention and sort of show them off a little bit.
I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, it's been great achievements, And, every time we meet at a show or whatever, you seem like a very humble guy, but there's still some incredible achievements there. So you should be very proud of,
thank you, man.
Accomplished, Talking about that, the other thing, just to explain this, when we're talking today, some people will sort of know about your career there, know about what you've done. Some people, it'll be like the first exposure to you, and, it will be starting from scratch. So with one of those questions, obviously you've competed in different styles as well. Obviously boxing is a big one on the unlicensed circuit, white collars, whatever. But there's kickboxing. I think you've had bare knuckle fights. There's
bare knuckle MMA. But I'll tell you exactly, I was an amateur, I had 47 amateur fights. Okay. I wouldn't lie to you. My dad got me in the ring, I used to shit myself. I was that scared as a child. Tell no lie, I used to be sick in the ring. I was that scared.
Wow.
I scared people didn't know from the amateurs. I used to be that scared to get in the ring. When I was in there, I used to be sick. And it brought proper mess with my head, man. I thought, I've got to come back and have a little go at this, you mean? So I got into the kickboxing, continuous. I started being sick again. I was getting I was 17, 18. I thought, there's something wrong here, you mean? Got my nerves, but I ain't scared of nobody. I'll fight any man, you mean? I'll get in the room with anyone. Even back then, I couldn't work it out. And all it was fucking fitness. All I had to do was get in the gym and train, you mean? So all these years, I wouldn't say I could have been a good amateur, but I'm a tough bastard. I've still got no skill today, but I'm tough, you mean? So I reckon I would have had a better amateur career. I had 47 amateur. I think I won 7. Do you mean? So as an amateur, I was terrible. And then we found out about this white collar. These shows. I thought, what's white collar? Well, I'm thinking, you got 10-inch gloves on, yeah? You're getting paid for it. That's pro to me. But there's that many different organisations there. But anyway, I started doing this white collar. My first one, I boxed a good friend of mine, Richie Watt, for a show. I boxed for him, mate. I got him there with a big old tall black fella. Nice fella, guys, man. I come to his chest and I shit myself again. And I was windmill. I stopped him. I thought, oh, he's all right. I'm all right. This, you mean? I got a bit of punch power. Then while I was still training kickboxing, I got a phone call for a WK English full contact fight. I said, you know, take it. I've gone out there. In 2 seconds, the fella's on the floor. I've won the title. I ain't even threw a kick. I thought, fucking, I'm doing well here, you mean? And I carried on with this white collar, man. I was doing well. My 4th fight, I won the BB English title for Pete Jackson. Do you mean I couldn't get a fight? Nobody wanted to fight me. So I had to get on the road then. Well, I did try to become this journeyman because the first fight I had on the road, I boxed an unbeaten boy down Wales called Mark Switman. Good friends with Matt, and I ended up boxing 4 times. But I beat him. I thought, fucking, I'm doing well here, you mean? Then after when I did go pro, turn pro, this is a pro game, different level, man. These boys, I boxed a fella called Lenny Fuller. My first pro fight. He's gone with the British board now. I think he's 7 or 8 now. Oh man, the fella beat me to death, you mean? Didn't stop me, but he gave me a beating. I'm thinking this is no good to me. And the thing is, I sold 30 tickets. Got all the boys in on the train until I did 60 tickets. Got all the boys in on the train. Walked away with 200 quid. I can earn more than that, triple that in a white collar fight, you mean? So I thought, no, it's programming for me, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, then I got into this journeyman. I want to fight regular. So I thought, fuck, you keep fighting away. And sometimes, occasionally now, as I get on, you've got to go under the old different name and take the knee and this and that. Just, I mean, it's been living now, so look at this, it's been living. I mean, and a couple of times I've come to retirement and I just keep going, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's amazing, though. I mean, because you've been around, you've done it all, and and there's more to come. But one thing I do want to just touch on there, which I think is really interesting, is you were saying about being anxious, being scared of fights and things as a youngster and all that sort of thing. But now you've had over 300 of these fights. I know, fitness was a part of it, but how did you sort of overcome that? At what point did you start feeling, confident and feeling? Because I know you were saying then, you were stopping these guys and, they were on the floor and all that. So that must have given you a boost. Was it around that time that you started feeling like, like the nerves went away type of thing?
Well, that's what I thought. What I realised is, like, I'm getting there. I'm getting into the kickboxing status. Yeah, you're getting in there. A lot of them, they like continuous, just point scoring. If I'm getting in there, I'm getting beat by children, you mean? I'm a 20-year-old man. I'm getting out kicked than that by 15, 16-year-olds. I think something's wrong here. Because I was that nervous, I wasn't doing nothing. You mean, just tucking up like a little girl. I mean, not some say a girl, now some of the women fighters now are twice as good as them. You know what I mean? Like, I was timid, you mean? And I realised that I'm sparring big old boys, man, strong fellas, you mean? Top pros. I mean, Kevin McCauley, unfortunately, he's had to retire now. One of my best friends in the sport, man. That fella's so underrated. I was just sparring him week in, week out, thousands of rounds, you mean? I'm thinking I'll get in the ring then with a child, he's kicking me head in, you mean? So I think when I realised I got myself fit, then I could throw a bit more. Then I come into my shell, you mean? I started throwing. And not being funny, I'm not a big puncher, even as a heavyweight now, because I got a belly on me, you mean? But I could punch, man. Back then, and lads are going down. I thought, I'm good at this. That gave me a boost, you mean? And with my dad, Liam, God love him, I'd tell you, man, we'd go somewhere, and even if I took one of my mates to the show, and I wouldn't be on the show, he'd go to the protest. Oh, yeah, my boy, I'll box anyone. My dad, he put me with the devil. He thought I was the man. Do you mean? So that pushed me on because he had confidence in me, you mean? He believed in me, and that was a big thing for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just carried on, man. And do you know what I mean? I've had some ups and downs and some lows, and I come out of jail. No, well, the story can go on, man. Don't jump too far, Fred. It's just me living, brother, you know? That's what I do.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We will get into all of that good stuff, as we sort of progress. And yeah, one other thing, shout out to Kevin McCauley as well. Shout out to him, great fighter. I actually sent him a message today saying, happy retirement and all that sort of thing. So fair play to him. But anyway, not going off on a tangent with that. Going back into it, into your early years before we progress with, some of the belts and some of the wins and all that sort of thing. Obviously, they call you the Gypsy Kid. Was that a name that you chose for yourself? Was that a name your dad gave you, or where did that come from in the
So
beginning?
obviously I'm a traveller. Do you mean I've got a travelling background? Do you mean? So with the box as well, every traveller you know, whether they want to box or not, they've all boxed as amateurs as kids. Yeah, just what we do. Do you mean?
Yeah.
So, but as in my position, where I say I got pushed into the fighting. I didn't want it, man. Like I said to you earlier, I used to get to the shows, I would shit myself, literally. I think I'd rather go and walk on a bed of glass than get in that ring. I was that fried as a child, do you mean? But it's just what you do, you mean? It's just what travellers do. So obviously, then there's obviously my cousin. Can you remember Billy Smith and Andy Smith, the two twins? Well, then my cousins there, yeah. Fortunately, God rest them well, passed away now. But they was the Gypsy Boys, weren't they? Yeah. You got Tyson Fury, the main man. He's the Gypsy King. So I thought, man, I don't want to be called what they've been called. I'm going to call myself the Gypsy Kid. He got announced one of my earlier fights. He stuck, thankfully, you mean? So yeah.
Oh, that's where it came from. Yeah, very cool. It's a cool name, and it's yeah. I mean, Billy and Ernie, man, they're absolutely legends. You know, may they rest in peace. They're absolutely amazing individuals. So I didn't know that actually that you related to
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, amazing individuals. Did a lot for the sport actually. Really, really, really tough fellas. I got a lot of respect for them. So moving on into this now. One of the things to touch on here is obviously you won all these different titles and all these different things, and there's so many of them. Is there the ones that you're most proud of? I mean, you said just now when we were first started talking that you mentioned a couple that you showed me there that you were more proud of than others. But out of them all, is there maybe one or two that you look back on and you think, that was the one that was really special more than any other?
Uh, they've all got different. They've all got different meanings from me. But I'd say like the Welsh shot, like I just said on Ken show now, it ain't much of a belt. You can probably get the same belt made for 15 quid. But it's the fact that I found 4 or 5 different shows for it because obviously my dad was Welsh, you mean? For the Welsh title, I finally got my hands on one, you mean? So that was meant a little bit to me. So that, yeah, it don't look much, but that to me. But this one here I was telling you about. So Matt Goff, still pro at him, a good friend of mine. I fought for a couple of these titles when my dad passed away. I remember I was fighting a fella. My dad was in bed, he died of cancer. He was on his deathbed, yeah. And I was fighting this fella called I can't remember his name now. Wade something. Well, I can't remember his name to come to me, Wade. Anyway, so I said to my dad, this fella now just beat me mate, stopped him, big boy. I was light heavyweight meant to be. With my dad passing away and whatever's going on, mate, I got there, I weighed in 10 stone 10. So I'm 3 stone underweight enough, you know what I mean? But I said to my dad in his deathbed, I said, Dad, remember this fella? And he could barely talk. He said, yeah, you go and fight him, you beat him. So I went out there anyway. Mate, like a rake I was, I've seen you the picture. This fella's a big old lump, light heavyweight. I've weighed in at 10 stone. I've hit him with the sweetest left up, mate, knocked him out. I'm telling you, so that this title means a lot because I had a lot of emotion in there for that night, you mean? Being I just lost my dad a week after, I'm back in there for it. So that means a lot to me. And then again, this title I'm just telling you about now. Another funny story. So this is my third attempt at it. Do you follow the BKB? Dan
Yeah.
Podmore, the current BKB heavyweight champion now. I was at a show, Matt Goff show. It's my 200th fight, meant to be retiring. Fighting a fella called Nathan who's already beat me. This was definitely going to be it now. I thought if I keep going on, I've lost a lot of fights. If I keep going on, I'm going to end up punch drunk. My 200th fight, done. So having a rematch with Nathan. In the changing room, big Poddy could be a call. He's always got you a fight. I said, Pod, I'm at a show. He said, I'll come pick you up. I said, come pick me up quick, Tom. He's got your fight for a title. He should come pick me up. He shot me over to Brolly Hill. And my missus is stretching at me now. She's coming to see me in Albury fight for me, my final fight. I said, Liz, I'm in Brolly Hill fighting a fight. So anyway, I got there. It was for the Thomas Hickbottom title. My third attempt at this title, and I boxed my mate, Tobias O'Brien. Ended up beating him. So anyway, Poddy's got the belt. Poddy took me back off to the other show. I've got in the ring, mate. Nathan's punched the cunt out of me. Sorry for being rude. I'm not knackered. I've just done 4 rounds for this. So I've got home. So then my official 200 fight, I've won another title. I'm thinking, I can't retire here, you mean? So I've got to keep going. So that's how we got into this stage, you mean? So that means a lot to me. But they all mean something to me, man, you mean? Like the BBU title, I won that again at Cruiserweight. So the fact that I've won that twice, because the BBU was a big thing back in the day around here. It was a big association. You know what I mean? So but they've all got a little sentimental value to them, me.
Amazing. That is an incredible story, and yeah, shout out to Podmore as well. I've had him on this show. Absolute great guy. But yeah, that is amazing. Multiple fights in one night. That is something because I know he did a bit of that in his time as well.
He did, mate, yeah.
Maybe, so he's an absolute legend as well. But yeah, so moving on to it then with a few other things here. as well as the boxing, which you're obviously the most known for. What about some of these other styles? Like you've sort of done a bit with the BKB, you've done a bit with MMA. How did that happen initially? Was it just people offered you fights, or did you sort of
So
aim
the
for it?
BKB was I used to train with a fella, good friend of mine again, Rob Norton, former pro, WBU world champion, British Commonwealth champion. He's good friend with a big old fella, big fight man, Cyril Muller. Introduced me to him, got good friends, and he just got in then with Jim and Joe. We run a BKB company, and he got me on like, and I looked at these bare knuckle fights just like a white collar fight. I didn't realise it was going to take up and be as big as what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously, I felt for Jim and Joe back early when it was UB bad sort of thing. And it just made it was good money, £400 for 3-2s. That's what my first cut was. I was getting in there, doing well, not getting out. I've been robbed a few times as well. I mean, I don't know if you know a fella, Dwayne Keane, a Welsh fella, good friend of mine. We never had a bare knuckle fight, you mean? Went the distance, things like that. So it weren't getting too hard, then the calibre of the boy just got so high, you mean? That I thought, nah, these boys are too good for me. And I did end up getting cut to pieces. I got cut down here, I got cut down here. So the calibre of the boys, I think that bare knuckle, you got to be a little bit twisted in the head for that, man. Them boys are next level to me, you mean? I respect anybody who fights that bare knuckle. But I did go on, Liam. I had 14 bare knuckle. Do you mean? So I must not disliked it that much. Yeah, I only got 3 wins out of there, but do you mean it was good money at the time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's an amazing how the sport is growing now, isn't it? I mean, it's gone from that. And on this show, I've had a few guys, who were in there early on. Jimmy McCrory, I've had him on this show. Scott Midgley, some of those guys who were in like early on. And the level, the level it's at now with like ex-UFC fighters and world champions coming into it. But yeah, I mean, you had a good run with the
I've been in with some of the best boys. I've fought Scott in BKB as well. Good friend with Scott. And tell you what, that fella, his head's that fucking hard. I hit him with the right hand and I broke my hand. I've hit him flush on the head. I broke my hand. I said, look, I'm done, man. I took it up and he's hit my hand. I said, get me out of there, man. Do you mean? I've got to fight next week.
Yeah. I mean, it is great. That's the thing, because you're in there every week as well, so you've got to be careful. Because obviously, with getting cut up and all that, it is something that happens with the BKB. People just get sliced up nasty, and it's if you want to do what you do, you fight every week. You want to make like a full time.
Sorry to put it there, but I've been very fortunate, man. I've been cut twice for the bare knuckle, but after that's bare knuckle, you mean? With the boxing, I do pretty well, man. Do you mean? So very rare I get a black eye or anything. That's the missus throwing things at me, you mean? So.
Yeah, and what about the MMA side of things? Because this is
the MMA, mate. Yeah, like saying, these Proudest, like I said, exactly these Proudest now, Liam, doing these shows. I mean, some cracking ones. I can't mention them all, but some Mickey Mouse ones, as you know yourself. Literally, you're fighting in the back of a rugby club, getting changed in the field, and I mean, most dodgiest shows ever. I can tell you, I've been to a show once. I've knocked the fella out, Liam. Yeah, the Proudest come to me. He said, "You throw another shot, I won't pay you." They brought the fella around in the ring, made him get up. The fight continued and I couldn't throw another shot. So let me tell you, man, these shows are corrupt, do you know what I mean? But so there's a fella, Welsh Combat down there, Wales. Me and the boys first have gone down there to box. I've seen a big cage. I've never boxed in a cage before, you mean? Yeah, it's all MMA. I said, I know how to throw a leg, but I don't know no grappling in there. And I played one of them, man, he's 250 quid in front of me. I'm getting in. Do you know what I mean? So that's how the MMA started. My first one, I remember boxing, fighting a big boy from Wales. Down Colwyn Bay, he's got on me, Liam, and I said, listen, it's going to have to be amateur because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm meant to be shin pads and everything. I've got in there with a pair of shorts and I've got a box on. Do you know what I mean? So I've gone in there and the fella's punching the shit at me. So I've got my finger and I've took it straight up his ass. And he soon got off me. Do you know what I mean? No whatever like. But he was literally, I've got it straight in him. He jumped straight off me then. But I've met him. If you don't know what you're doing there, bro, you can get out now, mate. You know what I mean? It's as simple as just getting him in little moves and getting tapped out.
No.
I've had 14 or 15 now, mate. Never won one, but I always try and give it a go, you mean?
Yeah. And obviously, we'll come back to the boxing now in a minute, but just also to give a mention for the kickboxing as well, because you've gone into that, and obviously, you've had some good achievements there as well. And to be honest with you, I mean, obviously, I followed your boxing and your bare knuckle. I don't know as much about the kickboxing off the top of my head, so fill us in a little bit on, some of your achievements there. Obviously, you showed us one of the belts earlier, but let's just talk a little bit about that side of things.
So the kickboxing, like I said, I started doing the log continuous with my old trainer. I'm still using his gym now. God bless him, Ken Holt. He used to train my dad it feels like about 50 years ago, but he can't be that old, you mean? But so yeah, I've got back in touch with him now. I'm using his gym at the minute now because we just lost the boxing gym. But I got into doing this like 10 years. I was only young, like I said, this is before the white collar started, you see, before I started getting into this. And again, I was getting beat, and I'm like, what's going on? And I started getting fit, training with Kevin McCauley, running up hills like this. He got me fit. I've got it there then, and I've felt this fella called Ryan, and I beat him, and he's trains off me a full contact. Now, full contact to me is like pro kickboxing. You mean, I thought, it's going to be hard work. He's 10-ounce gloves, just shin pads on, no head guard. And I've gone in there, Matt, and I've knocked him out. And I've walked away with the WK English title. And I never had another fight in the kickboxing after that. Because then I got into the white collar. I realised I ain't being sick no more. I can punch a bit. I've come in out my shell. I felt that fellow in Richie Ward's show. And boom, my career blemished in this, you mean? I did take another fight, sorry, but again, I wouldn't say it was kickboxing. It was I felt kickboxing, but again, in one of it into shows, there was MMA on it, kickboxing and boxing, a white collar show. The WK is proper, man. You mean World Kickbox Association? But these shows, I don't know what it was. I think I got the thing here, WKF. It was, and I felt for World Fighting Association. And I got in there, done 8-2 for the Commonwealth title. And just an achievement, just to say I've done it, you mean? But I didn't win it, obviously, but I got the 8 rounds in, so I was happy. But still probably barely threw a kick.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, you know, you've done, like I say, a bit of everything, and it's an amazing story to, to get a feel for the different things. When it comes to the boxing, which obviously being, what you're most well known for, the most prolific side of things, I mean, you're in there like every week. Toughest fights comes up in, this sort of topic comes up in every interview I do, whether it's a boxing interview, MMA interview, kickboxing interview, whatever. Toughest fight. So obviously you've had so many, 318 and counting. You've got one tomorrow, haven't you? You've got one.
Yeah, I've got unboxing tomorrow and Sunday in Kent.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 this weekend.
Yeah, so by the time we release this, it'll be more than 318. But anyway, out of all those so far, which ones stand out as being the toughest opponents? Whether it's technical, whether it's power. Tough can be different things. But it's a big question, because you've had so many. But I just wondered if there's any that stick out in your.
See, I get off this a lot, man. But there's a fella called Craig Ledbeater. Yeah. What? I don't know if you heard him from London way. Big puncher, man. Nice fella, man. The fella's built like a shit house. Only 80 kg mine when I boxed him, but I got my mate Jamie Gelder fucked about and fucking. I took his place, got down there, and the fella Liam. I think the fight's on YouTube. He didn't knock me out, but he come close to. Every time he come by me, I think he skinned me with a shot and blacked me eye. The fella was deadly. I mean, I think I went down there 5 times. The referee Spencer and said, "I can't keep counting." I said, "Stop the fight, then, Spencer." You mean? But I was never in that fight to win it. It was a good money. I didn't want to let the fella down, but that fella could bang, man. That could be, he could punch. I remember Craig saying, I'm friends with him now on Facebook, just speak to him now and then. Everyone's saying that he sold the place out, he does. He got on the mic at the end, he said, Isaac's the only fella who ain't knocked out cold in the ring. So that was a bit of an achievement, you mean? But there's been that many boys, you mean, and because I'm at heavyweight, cruiserweight now, and I should only be 12 stone, just can't stop the beer, can I, you mean? There's always the big boys who punch. I mean, that fella that I met you at, that's Southpaw. And I thought, fuck, did he come out too sharp, man? And I found out after, he's had 100 fights amateur, he's still current amateur, you mean? So you do get the top boys in there, man, but they probably won't achieve nothing again. Do you know what I mean? So there's been some good boys of it. Technical is another fella, Liam Power. I think he's from Paynton Way. I boxed him up here, Dudley. And he just outclassed me. You mean that's one that always stands out for me because the first time, I mean, I was only middleweight then, but the first time I can remember like being with a boy and him flicking the shot and not being able to catch it, you mean? So them two stick out for me. But I boxed everyone, man. So, but them two boys are the ones I'd say stick out. That's from my early career, you mean? From like when I was a middleweight.
Yeah, some good achievements there, mind as well, and even if it's in a different way, we're going the distance with them. And yeah, I've heard of those guys. They're sound. And I think something that people watching this would be interested to know as well is in terms of like the different places that you fought, because you've been around the track with all these different types of venues and all different parts of the country and all this sort of thing. So like in terms of what I'll do with this one is in terms of like the best places, some of your favorite places that you fought, right? And some of your least favorite places, where it was proper dodgy, if you get what I mean. Because I think Do you know what I mean? Because I think people in the game, right, like people in corner, people doing stuff, they know about this. But like for your average fight fan,
Yeah,
they don't
yeah.
always get to see like into the world. You know what I mean? So and because you've been around every type of show, like I think this would be a good one. So starting with some of your favorite places that you fought, like where you had like the best crowd or the best sort of
So,
atmosphere.
see, again, I felt up Dudley, the venue. I felt ex-pro Jimmy Gold. Big
Yeah,
Jax was promoting it. Jimmy sold at the venue, sold at the place, man. So atmosphere, when that second round come, and they knew he ain't stopping me. This is me 11th what I call a fight. This fella's he fought Michael Jennings for the WBU world title when he's pro. He's no mug, you mean? But when the crowd realised that he wasn't going to blow me over like everyone thought, just the atmosphere alone was brilliant, you mean?
yeah,
Ross Minter, Ross Minter? He used to run the Queensbury League, didn't he? He's been took over now for Quest. It's called now by Alan. He put on some amazing shows, mate. These shows were run better than most pro shows I've been to. I boxed from the Copper Box. Do you mean London? He's put some Tropsy, is it Tropsy?
yeah,
Got some
yeah.
beautiful venues he's put on, mate. But it's more to me like I can go anywhere now. Like I can go anywhere around Wales, anywhere, even Scotland. I mean, I boxed abroad and the lads knew my name over there. You mean so? I think just that alone just makes the venue just when somebody knows your name, just feel more welcome and more at home than you. But I'll tell you now, there's been some dives, mate. I've been some places where you walk in, you're sticking to the floor. Do you mean you're getting changed in a little dark room where you can't swing your hat in? The rings. I mean, I've been in some rough places, mate. I boxed not so long ago in London. I can remember this fella, old friend of mine. He's got dropped. The fella's jumped on the ropes and double dropped him on his head like a wrestler. And instead of the ref and that calling it off, and the pro was saying, "No, it's done," they've made him get back up and fight on, or they wouldn't have paid us. I mean, there's been some rough old shows, mate, but there's been some. I've boxed all in the country. I mean, I've boxed abroad twice, so just beautiful places I've boxed. I mean,
Yeah.
but like I say, more to me now is when I go out, mate. When I see somebody like you, and it's not about the fight. You mean I'll go and fight somebody for a couple of £100 just to get the weekend to see some of the boys from that area. You mean it's community like a brotherhood. You mean that's what I more enjoy.
Yeah, the
So if you
community.
can get paid and get a couple of rounds in as well, it's a bonus, isn't it? You mean?
Well, that's it, yeah. But no, I mean, I can get that totally. It's a big thing I love about fights as well. Doing the media, doing photos and filming and all that. Is a great like camaraderie. It's a great, like you say, like a brotherhood. Linking up with different people, catching up with them. The fight world is great like that. But what about boxing abroad then? You mentioned about that side of things. That must be an amazing experience to share as well. It'd be good to get some stories from that. I think
Well,
from
it was
any.
yesterday. I got a phone call. What's his name? There's a dodgy little fella. He put some funny shows on anyway. I boxed from before down South NC. He said, "Look, we need a cruiserweight." He said, "It's in Spain, Menorca." I said, "Let's go then." He's promised me €500 and this and that. It turned out, got there, mate. It's a beautiful place. Box got the rounds in, but it was like an old people's resort. It's like where 8 o'clock, everyone's in bed. You mean there wasn't much no life up there, but it was a beautiful place to box. Ended up, I didn't get no euros at all. I just got my accommodation and my fight played for. But do you mean so? Again, there's the one side of another dodgy promoter. They promise one thing and don't stick their side of the story. Do you mean so? It was a great experience, man. Beautiful experience.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool. You can see the sights and see some cool places, which is I think very neat. Look into the future a bit. I mean, you're on 318 now and counting. What are you aiming for? Like, are you going to be? Do you have like a number? You're going to get to 400,
Well,
and then perhaps.
this is what I
Yeah,
said, brother. Like I say, so 200. I thought I've had a couple of bad losses now. Got stopped a couple of times before then. My fitness wasn't the best. My health wasn't the best. So I was in and out of jail, being a dickhead. Do you mean? But this is it. Now go and win that title against a good boy. I'm thinking, I can still do this. You mean I can still go? And then come to me 300 again. Same promoter, I boxed for a show, and again I've done a few tickets. I even got a figure made of it. I love that fight that much. The attire I was wearing, I got an action figure made of that one. Look, made by my good mate Will. You mean so? I've got a couple of them. I don't know if you've seen any. So, but yeah, so I got in there. I stopped the lad. Got the win. Had most of my family there, and then I got a phone call. That was me done. You mean 300 fights, man? If I could look, there's Peter Buckley, there's Christian Light. You mean if I can live up to them boys, but in the white collar, You mean? Who could only dream of that? Them fellas are absolute legends, aren't they? Do you mean ambassadors of sport? And then I got a phone call next day. I've got a 6-rounder for you tomorrow. 400 quid. I said, add another 100 quid on there. Boom. So that was how it went. And it carried on. Do you mean?
Yeah, and it's carried on from there.
And then, so we're a member of Luxay, but it's not about the boxing no more. Like, I mean, I don't train as much to do. I mean, I'm just doing a few weights. I mean, if I can get to punch your bags, the bonus. But it's more to the boys. I think if I do pack it in, I'll do a bit of reffing, because I'm reffing now from a good friend, Richie White, on his show. I've got a couple of little ref jobs coming up. I'll have a ref, or I'll just keep the lads work going, take the lads to shows. I mean, I'll never get away from the game. I can't, man. I mean, it's my livelihood. But another way, like I said to Missy the other day, when you're sorting out a few bills and things are hard, man, yeah? You can do, 60 hours a week for 300 quid, yeah? Well, I can earn that in 6 minutes. And I know it's not guaranteed, brother, but it's best to earn it while I can, you know what I mean?
Well, that's it, yeah. Make the most of it, you know. I mean, as long as your health's holding up, which is something I do have to ask, you know, to give people a sort of a fair view of you know, the game on both sides, because I totally get being around it, by the way, and hopefully you can pass on some of your knowledge to some of the youngsters as well, because like with everything, you know, you've done in the game, I think you could be like quite a good trainer as well. But you know, do you have health problems from the amount of fights you've had? I mean, I don't know how much you can say about this because you're still quite active, you know, if there is any.
Well, say, look, you say I was blind. This is watch all them dirty videos when I was a child, this is. Do you mean? There's that saying, don't they? Don't keep watching them dirty videos now. I got bad eyesight, man, but I don't think it's still anything to do with the boxing. My dad was blind in one eye. I think it must be like, and what's it called? For the family and that, but they ain't terrible. You mean, I just choose to put my glasses on so I can see a bit better, you mean? But I can still see in the ring, so. And people look at me now, oh, you put some weight on your heavyweight now. Nothing to do with me not getting up and training. I'm happy at home with my partner. I'm in the best stage of life I've ever been in my life. I'm earning more money generally, so I'm comfort. I ain't got to eat a tin of baked beans and worry about my rent. I'm having steak, man. Doing a few cans of beer, so it's more enjoying my life, brother. That's all it is. You mean now? And I reckon I could do 10 rounds now with some of the best boys out there. Do you mean it's a choice? Like when you see me the other week, if a fella's coming at me and I'm getting 200 quid, I ain't going to stand there and see you later. Oh, Gypsy Kid's taking the knee, you mean? This is me living. But I do believe I can still go to some of the best, man.
Yeah, totally, man. 100%, 107%. I get that, and I'm happy for you that you're doing so well and you're sort of living the dream and all that sort of thing, man. I really mean that, you know, it is very, very cool. The other thing to touch on here, like I was saying, is you've been around the game a long time and you've done like a bit of everything with this side of things. So when it comes to people who want to get in the sport now, or maybe they're just getting in the sport and they're sort of the younger generation, the young guns coming through, amateurs, early career, whether it's pro or whether it's, you know, on your unlicensed white collar game or whatever, what would you say if people want to have like a long career like yourself and a successful career like yourself? You know, if there's like young fighters watching this, and I know you're quite young, but like you've been doing it a long time, so that's why I'm putting that in there. What would you say they need to do to have like a long career, good career, you know, make some good money out of the game and all that sort of thing, if you get where I'm coming from with this?
Truthfully, you got to go the proper route, man. I don't advise this white collar to anyone. If you're a good young lad out there and you want to get into the sport, man, go the proper route. Find an amateur gym, get yourself off the streets, make some good friends, yeah, get the proper backing you need and support you need. Go the amateur route, man. There's a fella, I disagree with you, this ultra white collar, Liam. 8 weeks training. A young fella died the other day, then Worcester. You're an amateur gym now, mate, yeah? You don't even get to spar in 8 weeks.
No.
For the first 3 months, you're just doing footwork and getting your guard right. So personally, mate, if you're any young boxer out there, don't do this ultra white collar. Get yourself on a poster, think you're doing well. Selling the tickets saying it's all going to cancer. That's going to that Proudest pocket, man. Get yourself an amateur gym, do things properly. And hopefully if you text off and you're good enough to go pro, go pro. But that's the best way to do it. I totally disagree with this ultra white collar. It's wrong and it should be stopped. You're going to be some serious people getting out.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good lesson actually. I get where you're coming from as well. We've talked about your sort of proudest moments and like your best moments and all that sort of thing. And you do have a lot to be proud of. But hearing you say that, you know, are there things when you look back on like all the fights you've had now that like you would have done differently, or you know, things that would have worked out if you look back on it and you think, well, if I'd have known then what I know now, type of thing? Is there anything like that, or are you just happy with, you know, with what you've achieved?
See, I'm not a greedy person, Liam. So for what I've achieved, man, I mean, like I say, man, like I say about these belts, they probably cost 30, 40 quid to make, but to me, these are my world titles, I mean.
Yeah.
And if it was left to me, they'd be hanging over my bed. The missus wouldn't have them. Said, look, you can have the toy room, do what you want in there, do you mean? So these are my titles, mate, mean well to me, but yeah. I wish I'd have listened to Kev McCauley. Again, going back to my good friend Kev. Give pro boys. He goes, what's the point? He goes, this is what I said to him, man. I'll never forget. He goes, what's the point of having a big 12-inch cock that don't go hard? That's what you're like. I said, what do you mean? And it makes sense now. He goes, coulda, woulda, shoulda, mate. I should have stuck to the pro game. And one of my old, did give pro with PJ Rolson. I spoke to him in the pub and he didn't recognise me because how much weight I put on. He said, you should have stuck to it, man. You should have just stuck to it. You know what I mean? But like I say, Liam, you've just lost your granny. I'm sorry to hear about that. But when you lose your dad, mate, and he's your everything in life, you don't want to think about. You just want to get in there, mate. If you can, I'll come out of jail. There's no pro going to let you come out of jail and walk straight into a pro ring. I'll come out of jail on the Friday. I was boxing on Saturday for 200 quid. You mean? And that 200 quid, mate, got me on my feet. You mean? You got me somewhere to stay the weekend. You got me a bit of food in my belly. So I think it's all to do with your needs and the way you live your life. But I think I should have stuck to the pro game. Definitely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a regret, but if I could change it, that's what I would have done. Because even now, mate, you ain't got to be a top fighter, mate, to win a Midland title. You win a Midland title at the pro, that's to me, that's just as good as a British title. You've won a professional title, man, you know what I mean?
I mean, I get where you're coming from because I know you've accomplished a lot. You've turned a negative into a positive. But I have heard that before. I have heard that from a few guys on the white collar scene, on the bare knuckle scene. You know, even when they've done really, really well with that, you know, they sort of look back and they think, oh, you know, if I'd have gone pro. But you know, you can't live life in a rear view. I mean, you gotta look forward and just be grateful for what you've got. But I just wanted to ask because it gives people like a balanced viewpoint of it. And yeah, and obviously any criminal stuff. I mean, that can fuck people's licensing up. Even when you know you hear some of the stories and it's not anything bad. It's just fighting outside of a pub or something. And you know, I'm not saying that's great, but it happens, doesn't it? People get.
That's the end of it, yeah.
Yeah. Is that what it was for you? Was it just like fighting on the street or something, or?
No, like I say, domestic for me. Not for beat me, miss it up. Anybody that knows me, I'm still with the same partner now, 16 years later. So I couldn't have done that wrong, could I? I lost my dad. My mum already passed away 4 years before my dad. Lost my dad. I was 20 years of age, man. My head went. I was 24 when my dad died. By the age 24, I lost both parents. You mean? My head went, man. I couldn't deal with it. So obviously me shouting at the missus and the neighbours keep ringing the police to get me away from the house, mate, because there's domestic violence. Now, there's only some. This is what I say about the police. It's only, don't matter what it is, the CPS are only going to. The police come to your house now 40 times and think, hang on. Yeah, he's only shouting or fucking swearing and splashing a window or two. But we need to make an example of him, don't we? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what they did. But if I wouldn't have gone to jail, Liam, I wouldn't still be with her now. I wouldn't have fought my life out and I wouldn't be the man I was today, you know what I mean? So it's a little shout out to the missus. She probably won't watch this, but everyone knows who she is. She knows who she is, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, man. I mean, yeah, I think that one of the things about your life is there's been quite a few situations where, you know, you've turned like a negative situation into a positive situation, or even if it's a negative situation, you know, you've taken something positive from it, if you get what I mean. And I don't know if you, like when we look at ourselves in the mirror, you know, we don't always see these sorts of things. I don't know if you'd appreciate it about yourself, but one of the things I see, like when I talk to you, is a guy who's really, you know, taking some negative situations to really make something good out of them. And I got a lot of respect for that, man, you know, because that's hard to do. You know, that takes a lot of, like, you know, making changes like that, whether it's making the best of, like, how your career's gone and turn it into a positive, whether it's, you know, something with your dad. And I'm sorry for your loss, because that's rough. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, what it would be like, but sort of, in a way, turning something positive from it in terms of making your career successful, winning the belt for him that you mentioned earlier, and all this sort of thing, changing your habits with your missus. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of things you've
No,
done.
I appreciate it, man. It means a lot, man. Thank you.
Yeah, when you break it down. I'm not blowing smoke or anything. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of things when you break it down that, you know, I got a lot of respect for that, man, you know. Well, whatever the future holds, man, for you, I wish you all the best, because, I mean, it'd be cool to see you get to, like a big number of fights, even if it's like 350 or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
But it depends how far you want to go with it, man, because you're living a dream at the minute. But the last thing I want to say is, obviously, to the people out there who supported your career, you know, so far, in terms of people who, anyway now, whether they come to watch you fight or whether they sending you messages on social media, anyone around you that's positive about your boxing, if they're watching this, even if it's your mates in the game, like Kev or whatever, watching this, just want to give a shout out to those people. What would you say to those people who sort of the people
Yeah,
who
well,
treat you?
I got to be honest, Liam. So since my dad died, yeah, the so-called fans, yeah, they're all a bunch of cunts, mate. Yeah, I've barely sold any tickets. They're all wankers. Yeah, you've got these lads now. I've got to say this, mate. Yeah, all you good mates. Yeah, I'll buy a ticket, buy a ticket. Comes to the fight, I think a 25 quid. No, but you're spending 120 to put your nose the same night you're meant to be watching me. They're all wankers, brother. But I've got back in touch now with some good family. Good cousins that I ain't seen for years, like we just got rekindled. They're good supportive at the minute. They're training with me. Again, you got Big Kev, Macaulay, Big Bam Bam, good friend of mine, Rob Norton, all mean so much to me from my career, mate. You know, so I suppose just them really to say thank you to. Do you know what I mean? And like I say, how much support I get now is when I box away different areas. The boys I'm boxing, because the fans have seen me box before, I got their support was cheering for me. That means the world to me. You know what I mean? If I never tell a ticket again, mate, I'm more happy than that.
Yeah, that is something, man. And I'm happy genuinely that you're living a dream and you're doing like what you want to do with your life and enjoying yourself and earning good money. And I just got respect for that, man. So I wish you all the best in the future. And it's been a good little talk about the highs and the lows of your life so far. And I'm sure there's always more we could go into, but it still gives us a good little breakdown of that. So last thing for me to do, make sure to say a big thank you for your time, big thank you for coming on here. And it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I've really enjoyed it, to be honest. It's been a really,
No
really
worries,
good.
Liam. Pleasure, brother. And hopefully see you soon, yeah? Thanks
Yeah,
for having me on. I dare say I'll see you at the show soon.
thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.